Hi, how are you all? I hope you are fine and all matters are facilitated. With me, Mew. The film is titled Warcraft. Released in 2016, film adaptation of the video game world of Warcraft. This film tells the story of the battle between humans and the orcs that has been going on for a long time. The audience will be invited to see the beginning of the war and its connection with Fel's black magic, which is the cause of the conflict. In this film, there is also a scene where an orc named Durotan looks at his wife named Draka, who is heavily pregnant. Durotan said that his wife had to follow him wherever he went so that when their son was born, he could name the child. The planet Draenor that has been damaged and uninhabitable is seen at the beginning of the film. The orcs living on the planet gathered together, including Durotar's clan. One of Durotar's friends said that the war this time would be a very big one. The orc warlord, Blackhand, spoke to their supreme leader, Gul'dan, and said that everything had been thoroughly prepared. A female captive is seen begging to be released, but Gul'dan refuses and says that she needs it. Gul'dan begins her magic ceremony by using the lives of the prisoners to open a portal. A giant door glowing green appeared, and with the number of prisoners present, Gul'dan could only send out the strongest troops. After the portal opening ceremony begins, the prisoners' lives are absorbed as a source of energy. The orc warriors entered the portal, including Durotan and Draka. While inside Draka's portal, something strange felt in his stomach. Draka felt the pain and they finally reached the end of the portal. Draka was in pain and crawled, making Durotan feel anxious and look for him. Blackhand is annoyed with Durotan for inviting a pregnant woman to war. Gul'dan saw Draka crawling and helped Draka give birth. The orc baby was born but looked limp and lifeless. Gul'dan saw a mouse deer near them, then cast a spell which then sucked the mouse deer's life. He breathed magic into the lifeless baby in his hands, so that the baby changed color from pale blue to green and started to cry.
A new warrior for the Horde!
Gul'dan introduced the baby as the new orc warrior. The portal then closes and the setting switches to Ironforge, an arms supply center in the kingdom of Azeroth bustling with dwarven workers. Among them, Lothar, a commander-in-chief of Azeroth, was seen inspecting weapons made by the dwarves. One of the new weapons shown is a boomstick shaped like a gun. Suddenly, a dwarf came giving news of the attack on the Lothar war battalion. Lothar immediately rushed back to the capital of Azeroth, Stormwind. Upon arriving in Stormwind, Lothar examined the belongings of his fallen soldiers. He found several bodies of his soldiers who had died. One of his troops told Lothar that someone else was examining the bodies. Lothar was curious and immediately looked for that person. When he found it, Lothar immediately locked it. The man turns out to be a wizard who has a tattoo of Kirither, a school for wizards. The man asked Lothar permission to examine the corpses of his soldiers, and Lothar granted permission. When one of the corpses was examined, green smoke suddenly came out of its mouth. Lothar was curious and sought help from a young wizard, who stated that only the Guardians could explain this phenomenon. Lothar and the sorcerer then asked the king to summon the Guardians, as only the king had the power to do so. After being confronted with the fact that Lothar's army was under attack with Fel's magic, the king and everyone else became worried. When questioned, the young wizard confesses that his name is Khadgar, an aspiring guardian who fled Kirinthor without completing his studies. Khadgar senses Fel's dark magic power threatening Azeroth and begs the king to summon the guardian. Meanwhile, there is a fire in the kingdom and the worried king allows Khadgar and Lothar to summon the guardians. They mounted an epic mount beast with 280% speed to meet the guardian. Elsewhere, Orcs attack villages and take their inhabitants prisoner. But Durotan and their clan stay out as they will only be fighting fellow soldiers. And not involving women and children. Lothar and Khadgar arrive at Karajan, the residence of the Guardian. They were greeted by his assistant, Moros, who escorted Lothar up a high winding staircase to meet the Guardian. Khadgar was attracted by the Guardian library and chose to stay on the grounds. When Lothar arrived at the top and met the Guardian, Medivh, he saw that the Guardian was busy making golem statues out of clay. Lothar immediately made his point of arrival that something had happened, and the king needed Medivh's help. While Khadgar was busy reading, he was disturbed by a black shadow that appeared from a distance. Khadgar came closer and checked the shelf, but the black shadow suddenly disappeared. The tattoo on his hand suddenly lit up and pointed at one of the books. Khadgar takes the book and unexpectedly, Medivh appears and meets Khadgar. Medivh looked angry and cast magic on Khadgar for breaking the vows of a would-be guardian and leaving Kirinthur.
Fell.
After Khadgar explains that he was sent by the king. Because Fel's magic has entered Azeroth, Medivh releases his magic. Medivh explains that Fel's magic is the most terrible and unparalleled magic, as it uses life as fuel to infect the user and destroy everything it touches. Anyone who uses Fel's magic is granted immense power, but with dire consequences. After Medivh revealed the ban on Fel magic on Azeroth, he immediately asked Khadgar and Lothar to return to Stormwind using teleportation. When they arrived in Stormwind, they found that the king was worried because his army had been attacked by an unidentified creature. Lothar took the initiative to capture one of these creatures so that they could be identified. Finally, the army led by Lothar entered the Elwyn Forest to capture the creature. Arriving in the forest, Medivh finds signs of Fel's magic leaving traces on tree trunks. Unexpectedly, Lothar's troops were attacked by Blackhand and Durotar's troops, who appeared from the bushes. Lothar and his son Callan battle their enemies fiercely, while Medivh provides magical assistance to defeat the Orc army affected by Fel's magic. Having lost his left hand, Blackhand and his army were forced to retreat. Durotan also followed them in defeat. After the battle ended, Medivh returned to Karajan. Lothar was disappointed that he had not been able to capture the Orcs prisoner. However, he then chased after them and managed to catch two Orcs, namely a man and a woman who had previously been on Gul'dan's side. On the way, Lothar learned that the Orc woman could speak human language. However, the male Orc that was also captured did not like it when the female Orc spoke to Lothar. When the male Orc was about to attack the female Orc, Lothar swiftly drew his sword and overpowered her. Then Lothar brought the female Orc before the king of Azeroth. The female Orc claimed to be Garona and said she came from a planet that had been corrupted and died. Garona explains that the Middle Orcs are trying to take over the earth by passing through a portal. Garona learns human language from prisoners, who will be sacrificed to open portals and allow the Orcs to enter the earth and rule it. At first, Garona refuses to reveal the location of the portal, but later he agrees to help humans after receiving a promise from the king of Azeroth to be freed. At the Orc hideout, Gul'dan punishes Blackhand for failing to lead an army against the humans and flees instead. When Blackhand tries to plunge his hand into the fire, magic damages his body, but Durotan manages to cut off Blackhand's hand and save his life. Gul'dan also suspects the loyalty of Durotan, who always opposes Gul'dan's use of black magic in palace custody. Medivh meets with Garona and asks who guided Gul'dan to the portal and reach Azeroth. Garona replied that the one guiding Gul'dan was the demon, or the devil, even though he had never seen it himself, only heard his voice. Then the queen came and visited Garona, who told her that by killing Medivh, Garona would be honored by the Orcs. However, The queen instead brought Garona a warm drink and a blanket, and asked about the scars on Garona's body and the chain attached to his neck. That means Garona was taken prisoner by the orcs themselves. The queen offers freedom to Garona if she wants to help humans. Elsewhere, Khadgar studies a book taken from Medivh. The book contained the portal in question and Aladi's name. Khadgar copied the contents of the book. Durotan told his friends that their world was destroyed since Gul'dan came to power. Gul'dan used her witchcraft to numb the ground and trees. Durotan wanted to beat Gul'dan, but was unable to. He thought he could defeat Gul'dan with the help of humans. Garona agrees to help the humans and shows Lothar and company the location of the portal. While in Stormwind, they set out on horseback through the forest and rocky mountains. Garona says that his name means curse in the Orc language, and he has been a captive of Gul'dan since childhood. Garona is getting closer to Lothar. They arrive at the portal site, and Garona explains that the prisoners will be used as magic fuel to open the portal. As they were about to return home, Durotan appeared and wanted to meet the king somewhere. Garona wants to join Durotar's clan, but Durotan says that Garona will be safer if he joins the human race. Orcs are attacking more and more villages and taking prisoners within the kingdom. Elves, dwarves, and humans are getting increasingly restless with attacks from the orcs. Lothar was informed that his son was injured, and his entire army was taken prisoner by the orcs that night. Garona revealed Durotar's plan to meet the king. The king was interested, but Lothar suspected that it was a trap. The king agreed to meet, and the queen gave Garona a dagger as a precaution. Elsewhere, Khadgar is surprised by the presence of Medivh, the guardian, in his house. Medivh is angry to see Khadgar's notes investigating Fel's witchcraft. Medivh burns all of Khadgar's notes and orders Khadgar to stop meddling in his business of investigating Fel's magic and to focus only on protecting the king. Medivh takes back the book borrowed by Khadgar. Khadgar shows Lothar the notes on Fel's remaining magic. Apparently, the orcs were summoned by someone to enter the earth. The next day, the king with Lothar and Garona met Durotan. Durotan says the captives will be sacrificed in 2 more days, and a portal is open to enter the remains of the orcs from the planet Draenor. As they negotiate to defeat Gul'dan, green orcs emerge from the ground and attack the Durotan clan and the king's entourage. The guardian standing guard from the top of the hill created a magic wall to save the king's entourage. However, Lothar Colin's son was trapped behind the enchanted wall, and Lothar could not penetrate it. He could only watch his son being killed by Blackhand. Garona and Khadgar find Medivh passed out from exhaustion on a hill. They took Medivh to his home in Karajan and placed him in a pond to recover. While placed in the pool, Khadgar sees a green medical eye glow and goes to Kirintha, the Guardian's training ground. At Durotar's camp, Blackhand arrests Durotan for betrayal. Before leaving, Durotan named his son Gul after recovering. Medivh sent Garona to meet Lothar. When they met, Lothar looked sad because of the death of his son. The story goes back to the Orc nation and sees the Durotan clan being attacked by Gul'dan's army. However, Durotar's wife, Draka, managed to escape with her child. The story returns to Khadgar, who finally makes it to the floating city of Kirintha. There, Khadgar says that he has seen Medivh being affected by Fel's black magic. The Kirintha elders are initially angry, but Khadgar mentions Aladi's name and they drive him to a place where there is a black box. That is thought to be an ancient entity that existed before the era of the Guardians. Then, the door opened from the cube and Khadgar entered it. In it, he meets the same figure he saw in the Karajan library, namely Aladi. Aladi warns Khadgar that Medivh has been overpowered by Fel's black magic and asks him to stop Medivh, otherwise the world will be destroyed. Later in Karajan, an unconscious Medivh is put in a magic pool by his assistants. Just then, the pool turns green and Medivh admits that it was he who let the orcs into the earth. He also said that he had no memory of what had happened because Fel's magic had taken hold of him. After that, Medivh got up and attacked and killed his assistant. At that time, the king was planning an attack on the orc portal and Medivh appeared giving advice to take only 3 legions. However, Lothar wanted to bring a full army. So there was tension between Lothar and Medivh. Finally, Lothar was imprisoned to cool off. Garona meets Lothar in prison. But Lothar warns him not to trust Medivh and not to fight in the orc portal. Even so, Garona still wanted to go and left a necklace from her mother to Lothar. He promised to return and then left with the king and his army towards the portal. Meanwhile, Khadgar frees Lothar and tells him that the only way to save the king is to stop Medivh first.
I
am just following my...
They went to Karajan to meet Medivh. Elsewhere, Draka runs away from the pursuit of Gul'dan's troops while taking his baby with him. When he reached the river bank, he put the baby in the water flow. Suddenly, Gul'dan's troops appeared from the bushes and attacked Draka. Finally, Draka fell in the battle, moving through the orc portal. Durotan challenges Gul'dan to a duel with Saint Malgora. Gul'dan accepted the challenge. In Karajan, Khadgar and Lothar arrive and find Medivh's assistant dead and see Medivh being controlled by Fel's magic. They engage in a fight with Medivh and when Medivh casts the spell to open the portal, the orc portal reacts.
I have no time for this, Blackhand!
Elsewhere, while Durotan and Gul'dan's fight is going on, Gul'dan gets annoyed by the portal's reaction and wants to avoid the fight to focus on the portal. But Blackhand said that the holy fight must be finished. An enraged Gul'dan cheats by using Fel's magic and kills Durotan. Many orc troops witnessed the cheating and refused to follow Gul'dan because they only wanted to be respected by real orcs and did not want to be ruled by devils. An enraged Gul'dan uses Fel's magic to kill several orcs and absorbs their powers to make Blackhand stronger and strengthen his position among the orcs. The king and his army arrive at the portal and find the Durotan clan slaughtered. The battle between Azeroth's army and the orcs was inevitable. Meanwhile, Lothar and Khadgar struggle to stop Medivh from trying to open the portal. And Medivh revives his golem, which troubles Lothar. On the battlefield, Gul'dan begins the ceremony of opening the portal by taking the lives of the prisoners. As a power source, portals were opened to bring more orcs into this world. Meanwhile, in Karajan, Lothar and Khadgar try to stop Medivh, who has turned into a demon and is in the pool. After successfully defeating Medivh by dropping the golem right on top of Medivh, the portal begins to close. Lothar immediately went to war. However, Medivh suddenly breaks free from the influence of Fel's magic and reopens the portal. Stormwind is seen at the end of the portal, and Medivh wants to help the king and his army. The king orders to release the prisoners and head to Stormwind through the portal. The king also asked Garona to accompany them on their journey. Before everyone can pass through the portal, Medivh dies and the portal closes. The king and some of his troops were left in that place. Suddenly, Blackhand approached the king with the intention to kill him and gain the honor of the orcs. But the king decided to give Garona's dagger to Garona himself and ordered Garona to kill him. With a willing heart, Garona complied with the king's request and killed him with the dagger. Garona was honored by the orcs and Lothar arrived too late. When Lothar tried to carry the king's body, The mount's legs were pulled by Blackhand and he fell backwards. Lothar fainted after the incident. As Lothar revived, he was challenged by Blackhand to a sacred battle with Malgor in the center of the arena. Lothar managed to defeat Blackhand and avenge his son. After winning the holy battle of Malgor, the orcs dared not interfere when Lothar carried the king's body back to Stormwind. There, Lothar learned that Garona had killed the king. After the king's funeral, Lothar was appointed the new king of Azeroth. The baby orc, Durotar's son, was rescued from the river current by someone on the bank of the river, and the story of Warcraft ended. Thank you for watching me use film explanation. We apologize for all the shortcomings and mistakes in terms of mentions and inappropriate remarks. Finally, Mew had to say goodbye for a while and hope to meet again in the next film storyline. See you.